explosion, but a whisper. A whisper soaked in manipulation, dressed as concern, laced with poison so sweet you mistook it for truth. They didn't scream at you, they rewired you. They played puppet master with invisible strings, tugging softly at your doubt, pulling gently on your insecurities until you began to question your own pulse. You forgot what was real because they told you what was correct. You second-guessed your instincts because they framed your clarity as confusion. And the sick part? You started apologizing for seeing things as they were. That's how it begins. The gaslight flickers, and suddenly your entire world is shadow. But you didn't break. You paused. And in that pause, in that unholy silence, something ancient woke up inside you. Something primal. Something no liar, no manipulator, no mask-wearing saint could ever cage again. They called you dramatic when you were honest. They called you bitter when you were accurate. They smirked while you bled inside you. Something primal. Something no liar, no manipulator, no mask-wearing saint could ever cage again. They called you dramatic when you were honest. They called you bitter when you were accurate. They smirked while you bled. The more you tried to explain yourself, the deeper they buried the blade. And every time you dared to expose the contradiction, they turned your truth into madness. You're too sensitive. You're imagining things. You're just overthinking. Ah, the classics. Vintage tactics from the handbook of devils in disguise. But you see, there's a fatal flaw in their design. They thought you'd stay confused. They didn't plan for your silence to evolve. They never imagined your brokenness could become your blueprint for vengeance. While they perfected their masks, you sharpened your awareness. While they played roles, you studied patterns. They gaslit you into the dark. But in that darkness, you developed night vision. Now look at them. Uncomfortable in their own lies. Jittery in rooms they once commanded. Their performance is cracking under the weight of exposure. Panic is a beautiful perfume on hypocrites. Intoxicating, revealing, and impossible to ignore. They're scrambling to rewrite history, delete screenshots, and twist timelines. I didn't say that. You misunderstood. That's not what I meant. But it's too late. The curtain's down, the lights are up, and the audience isn't blind anymore. You became the mirror, and their reflection is grotesque. They can't cope with it. They wanted to be puppeteers, not exhibits. But now their threads are tangled, their lies are echoing, and that once smooth control is slipping through their fingers like ash. They used you like a chalkboard, erasing parts of you every time you showed your real self. But what happens when the chalkboard writes back? When every erased word turns into a weapon? You learned the art of quiet observation. You stopped explaining yourself and started documenting. Your silence became strategic, your distance surgical, and every fake apology, every twisted half-truth, every smug manipulation, you stored it like ammunition. You turned gaslighting into gasoline. And now, the fire is spreading. Funny how the ones who lit the match are screaming, arson. They underestimated your rage because it didn't look loud. It looked focused. They underestimated your memory because it didn't come with shouting. It came with records, patterns, facts. You didn't strike back immediately, and they mistook that for weakness. No, you were just letting them build their kingdom of lies taller, higher, more dramatic. So when it fell, it would echo. And oh, how it echoes now. Every victim act they try to play only exposes them more. Because once you see the trick, the magician looks like a fool. And now everyone sees, not just you. See, gaslighting only works when the victim still believes the illusion is worth preserving. But you stopped playing that game. You let their version of you die. You stopped defending yourself in rooms where truth was never welcome. You walked away without a monologue, without a warning, without a tear. And in that silence, they began to unravel. Because people like them need control. They need reaction. Your silence? It was the scream they couldn't handle. The chaos they didn't prepare for. The power they couldn't mimic. You went quiet, and suddenly, their spotlight turned into an interrogation lamp. They're sweating now, and it's beautiful. The ones who tried to break your perception are now begging to control the narrative again.
I'm about to give my mom this.
Are everywhere. The contradiction is loud. The timeline is stained. And the truth you carry, it doesn't need defense. It simply exists. Their panic is the confession. Their sudden kindness, that's fear. Their nervous laughter, that's guilt. Their forced neutrality, that's collapse. The empire of illusions they built is now a sandbox of regret. And they're digging frantically, trying to bury their own exposure. But some things refuse to stay buried. Like you. Like truth. Like karma with a timer. You didn't retaliate. You evolved. You didn't clap back. You ascended. And now, from this new altitude, you watch the chaos below with the same cold clarity they once used against you. But unlike them, you don't need to fabricate anything. You are the evidence. You are the rebuke. Every breath you take in peace is a punishment to those who sold you confusion. And they feel it. Oh, they feel it. Every time someone looks at them sideways. Every time a question is asked that they can't answer. Every time they remember how they used to mock you, only to realize you were never broken. You were just becoming bulletproof. They whispered to others about your instability. They smirked while assassinating your character in rooms you weren't invited to. But now they're the unstable ones. They flinch at shadows. They reread their own texts with anxiety. They hear your name and feel exposed, not because you're loud, but because you're aware. And nothing terrifies a manipulator more than a victim who doesn't need to scream to be believed. You made them feel small without raising your voice. You made them unravel without lifting a hand. Because the most violent revenge is showing them who you became when their mask slipped. They thought the fire would consume you, but you became the flame. And now their lies, their paper, their fuel, their confessions in disguise. Watch them try to pivot, try to explain, try to build a new version of events where they're still the hero. But that's the tragedy, isn't it? Gaslighters forget they're not architects, they're illusionists. And illusions don't survive exposure. They flicker, they fade, they burn, just like they tried to burn you. But you turned ashes into armor. And now as they panic behind forced smiles and overly rehearsed denials, you remain still. A storm with a heartbeat, a mirror with memory, a quiet reckoning that speaks volumes. This isn't revenge. This is correction. The scales tipping back to balance. The truth dragging them into daylight while they scream for shadows. And the best part? You're not even trying. You're just existing. And even your existence is dismantling their kingdom of pretense. Because the show isn't over. Oh no. may have fallen, but the aftermath, that's where the real chaos begins. And the best part? You're not even trying. You're just existing. And even your existence is dismantling their kingdom of pretense. Because the show isn't over. Oh no. The curtain may have fallen, but the aftermath, that's where the real chaos begins. It's in the aftermath where the cracks start to show, where the seams tear apart, where they can't hide behind the facade anymore. They thought the storm was over. They thought they'd weathered the worst. But all they've done is built a house of cards on a foundation of lies. And as the wind picks up, one by one, they'll watch it collapse. Slowly at first, a whisper of doubt here, a flicker of truth there. But soon enough, those cards will fall. And then the panic? Oh, the panic will be deafening. You see, they've always relied on one thing, their ability to control the narrative. They've mastered the art of storytelling, spinning webs of deceit with such elegance that even the most discerning eyes couldn't see the manipulation. But what happens when the story they've carefully crafted starts to unravel? What happens when their lies are exposed for what they are? Fragile, hollow, decaying. The game changes. They're not the masters of the narrative anymore. You are. And now, in this new chapter, they're scrambling to rewrite their own history, trying to manipulate you into becoming the villain of the piece. But the beauty of truth is that it doesn't need a script. It doesn't need a stage. It simply exists, raw, undeniable, unyielding. And it's shining through every crack in their carefully constructed world. They thought they could bury you beneath their stories, suffocate you with their lies. But they forgot one critical thing. Truth doesn't fade. It only grows louder, clearer, more insistent. And now they're choking on it. They thought they'd poisoned the well, and now they're drinking from it, desperate, unable to stop themselves. Every time they try to explain away their actions, every time they try to convince others of their innocence, the cracks deepen. The lies grow more obvious. The silence between their words becomes deafening. And that's the part they didn't prepare for, the silence. They thought silence was your weakness, didn't they? That by quieting you, by gaslighting you into submission, they'd win. But silence isn't weakness, is it? No. Silence is strategy. Silence is power. Silence is when you stop playing by their rules and start observing their every move. And in that silence, you've collected everything. Every twisted comment, every false accusation, every cruel manipulation. You've built an arsenal, piece by piece, and you didn't have to raise your voice to do it. All you had to do was wait. Wait for them to dig their own graves. Wait for them to expose themselves. And they did. They did it without even realizing it. They thought the storm had passed, but they failed to understand the true nature of the chaos they unleashed. It wasn't just about you. It was never just about you. It was about them. It was about their hubris, their arrogance, their assumption that they could control everything and everyone around them. And now that arrogance is biting them in the ass. Now they're stuck, spinning in circles, trying to control the uncontrollable, trying to stop the inevitable fallout from their own actions. It's almost poetic, isn't it? How the very thing they used to break you, their manipulation, their lies, their gaslighting, has now become their undoing. The pieces are falling into place. It started quietly, didn't it? Not with an explosion, but a whisper. A whisper soaked in manipulation, dressed as concern.